Now, regardless of what topic we're covering, when it comes to purchasing something, you've heard someone say budget gear. You've heard that before. As it pertains to EDC, a lot of different people have a different definition, and it even varies depending from item to item and category to category. But I believe there is a price point that could be the common denominator between all of them. And today I want to talk about my theory for what a true budget item is, and I want to show you what it would look like if I took my personal EDC, which has no restrictions on cost, and I convert it down to that price point. And that's what we're going to do today. Let's get started. When trying to define budget, the only thing that I could find as a common denominator between literally everyone is that we value our time. So the question becomes, how much time would we devote to earning the money necessary to buy a given item, right? And for me personally, I'm pretty happy with working 4 hours for something that I'm going to get a lot of use out of and will last for 3 to 5 years, right? That seems pretty reasonable. Now, some of the items we'll be talking about today last a lot longer than that, but that's a reasonable approximation. The thing is, though, everyone's salary is different. If you're using that 4-hour measurement, that's a good approximation for you, right? You would be willing to work a half day to buy X product. But what if we're going to find it as a specific number? Then we have to go to the lowest common denominator, the lowest possible salary. And that's $7.50 an hour in the US, which means that in gross pay, that's about $30. So that's pretty low, but it's something that anyone can achieve. And I think that's why I picked it as my budget cap of $30. And so when we talk about comparing my EDC to the one that I'm going to craft today, every single item is going to come below that measurement. I think when we're talking about budget EDC, keys are a great place to start because pretty much everyone needs them. And the key organizer that I actually use is around the $30 price point already. And then of course you can add things onto it. It has a modular system. You even get a flashlight if you wanted to go that route. This flashlight, by the way, is also under 30 bucks. So with that in mind, I wanted to go as cheap as humanly possible while still getting a lot of functionality out of it. So I have my sub $10 solution. I'm going to show you how I set this thing up in a way that, number one, the keys don't rattle, and I have additional functionality built into it as well. So we're going to start with this. Now you can use standard split rings, but there's an advantage to this design that I want to talk about. These wired key rings, they are also jacketed, which means there's like a rubber gasket on top, which is going to make the sound kind of be dampened a little bit more. And the fact that they're flexible is going to become important later on. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to thread out a bunch of these key blanks, and it can be any key you want. This same trick should work. So we'll start with that. We're going to get the keys on there, lock it up, and this is about as simple as it gets, right? And it makes a decent amount of noise. Now, they're making noise because the keys are hitting each other, not because of them hitting the ring itself. There's a little trick you can do, though, to make them all kind of silence. So you can use a lot of different types, but you want something that's elastic. I actually like the shock cord. I think it's a good solution. So if you just tie a quick knot, make it tight, not super tight, but pretty tight, and then you tie it again, which I'm going to try to do through the viewfinder. There we go. And then you tie that. That's it. Now, if I were to tie that a little bit tighter, I would definitely not have any sound whatsoever. And the nice thing is that they kind of spread themselves out and then automatically just set themselves back together because of the elastic kind of pulling it back into the standard orientation. This is a cool trick that you can do for very, very little money. You could even, honestly, you could probably just take a couple of hair ties from certain people you know and just cut one, and you probably have what you need in order to make this work. So that's going to silence your keys and is a really cool trick. The other thing I want to point out is what you can do with a Nite Ize DooHickey. Now these are around $5, and that's most of the cost of this system. And I say it as a system because, of course, you're going to get the pry tool, the bottle opener, the box opener as well. But it's actually this gate that makes it so good, because when you set it up like this and actually having it stretch a little bit means that you can actually hook this to a belt loop, and you can actually use this as a key dangler. And notice, very little sound. So even though it's hanging out next to you, you don't have to worry about all the noise. And actually, that's a really nice, cheap, inexpensive solution. This is pretty close to my ideal if you're talking about a budget setup under $30. And if you want, you can also add a jet setter, which is probably my go-to keychain tool of choice. The reason being, you never have to take it off. It has that Phillips driver and the scissor, two very useful things, and a tweezer and a toothpick, which mine fell out for whatever reason. You can also, at an inexpensive price, I think somewhere under 10, get this. This is from Clip and Carry, which will allow you to take a 58mm 2-layer knife and slot it in and out as you see fit. So if you have a lot of keys and you don't want to use this with it all kind of hanging off, you can just get this instead, and that will allow you to do just a little bit more. That's a pretty decent key solution. And I still, even with all of the items that I have, all the different tools, I end up carrying this on my keychain most of the time as my dedicated pry tool, and I use it to open packages all the time. It doesn't have to be expensive to be good, and this is a great example of exactly that. Now, the next piece of kit is an essential one, right? Wallets. Most people carry them, so it's worth talking about. This wallet is only $45, but it is super high quality, made right here in the US by a company called Patriot Leather Goods. It's called the Murphy. Now, I love this wallet because it doesn't have stitching on the bottom or the sides. It's able to utilize the entirety of the space, even letting you use cash bifolded, and that is a really useful thing. It also has enough space for a Write in the Rain notebook, a pocket pen, and on the back we also have a pair of cards that we can use whenever we want. So I don't have to open it up to access the cards I use the most. It's probably worth spending a little bit more, but if you're seriously trying to stick to a budget, or maybe you're just gifting this item, let me give you a couple of decent suggestions. Start with hide and drink if you're looking for something in leather. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the leather is a super high quality, you know, like the one I just showed you, but it's decent enough. And I have to say, the variety of choices that they offer is quite extensive. Not just in this blue, but they have brown, they have black, they have a lot of different colors, different designs. You're gonna find something that's gonna work for you. And actually, I think everything I'm showing here comes in under 20, not even under 30, but under 20. Now, these are mostly made in Central America, places like Guatemala. And you get a little card in there, which is pretty cool, that tells you where it was made and who made it as part of this sort of co-op thing. So I actually think this is a decent option if you're looking for something super budget. I still do believe when it comes to leather goods, wherever you live, get something from where you live. It doesn't matter where it is, but definitely get a wallet from your area. It just carries with you in a different way. Let's say, for instance, though, you don't want to buy one of these and you prefer to have something USA made. There actually are a couple of options, and my favorite one has to be the Ranger wallet from Gondek EDC. This is guaranteed for life against manufacturer's defects. It comes in at $30 if you opt for the RFID blocking internal layer. This has a couple of pockets on the inside as organizers, a spot on the outside for a pen. Now, it doesn't come with the pen, that's extra, but it does have that option, and it fits cards and cash great, bifolded no less. And when you're done using this as a wallet, it can work in conjunction with one to be a pocket organizer. So it's multi-purpose, it runs between 25 and 30, and the best part of all is that you can have this made in literally any fabric that they have available on their website. And as you can see, I wanted to show you that you can get like entire setups and kits all in the same fabric and have this nice little matchy-matchy design. So this organizer is less than 30, this is less than 30, this is less than 30, which is an awesome little tray for your gear. You can even get Hanks for like 10 bucks. The point is do some searching. You'll be surprised what you can find. And Gondek EDC is one of my absolute favorites because everyone is custom to you while still being incredibly budget friendly. Check these out. There's many others out there. If this is a category that you want me to expand on, I will. But I really like these two options. So you can find these on Amazon. You can find this on Gondek EDC's website. I will leave a link down below. Cannot recommend them enough. Now we're going to talk about a category that probably isn't relevant to most people, and that is going to be a fixed blade that you carry every day. That is a really narrow band. You know, many people do not carry a fixed blade every day, but I am one of those people that likes to have a variety of cutting tools that do different things. And this is one of the items that I actually carry on a regular basis. So this is the Armiger 4 from Demko Knives. Now this is the first production knife that is made in 80 CRV2. I have absolutely adored using it, and it just has a lot of versatility. So it's more than comfortable enough to be used for outdoor tasks. In fact, I got a chance to use that a little bit over the weekend. It also has all of the pedigree necessary to be good for defensive aspects, and it's slicey enough to work for food prep or anything else. Now, one of the things I love about this sheath is that it can be reversed, which means I can keep it in my front pocket, right or left, and I can actually set it up any way I see fit. I also can put it in the waistband and use it in the 8 o'clock position or 8:30 position and use it that way if I choose to. Not many knives can do this without major modification. I looked quite a bit to find something under 30, and the only real quality knives that I could find under 30 usually start with an M and end with Kneve. But the problem with those knives is that they don't have a sheath that makes them particularly useful to carry in your pocket. There was, however, two knives that stood out as being not only a perfect substitute, but might even be designed by the same guy. I think there's a strong chance for this. So, as I said, Demko design, right? Well, Andrew Demko also worked at Cold Steel for a number of years and worked on a lot of projects. And while he was there, I happen to know that these came out. So I have a strong feeling that Andrew Demko had something to say about it. And this is a very good sub $30 substitute. This is the Peacemaker 3. It is made in German 4116 stainless, which is similar to the steel that's used in Swiss Army knives. It's pretty close. And it is a full tang knife with a pretty good grip. And the sheath, here's the thing, the clip on this is super strong. And actually, if you can get this on your pocket on the inside, this is actually a fantastic in-pocket sheath that is just like the Armiger 4, completely reversible. So you can have it set up in any way you want. It's also even more comfortable than the Armiger 4 in the 8 o'clock position. The only downside that I've found is when you're trying to reseat it and it's pressed up against your body, this kind of happens. So getting it back into a sheath when it's in the 8 o'clock position can be a little dangerous. But when it comes to in-pocket carry, it's awesome. It also has a big brother, which weirdly enough is exactly the same price on Amazon, and that's the Peacemaker 2. Now check this thing out. I actually adore this. First of all, it's huge. It is, I think it's a 5.5 or 6 inch blade. The tang is actually a little bit thicker than the smaller variation. We still have this hybrid kind of Scandi grind, the same way that's true about the small one. And believe it or not, I can actually carry this in that 8 o'clock position. Not that I would, because I'm not even sure it's legal in my state, but this is a cool knife. And both of these knives came in under 30 bucks. I don't know why no one talks about them. They're kind of awesome. And being full tang knives, yeah, real surprising, but definitely a great offering at such an incredible budget price. So is it going to be as good as my Armiger 4? Absolutely not. This is a phenomenal knife, and the sheath itself is sort of a genius thing, as you know, it's besides the point. But if we're staying under that $30 price, I would absolutely go with the Peacemaker 2. This, it feels very much in line, and in some ways might actually be slicier and better for food prep than the Armiger 4, because it is a little bit on the thinner side. Let me know what you guys think, and whether you even consider carrying a fixed blade in your EDC on a regular basis. I'm very curious, or if I'm just the only one out there doing this crazy stuff. Now, I will say genuinely, I had a really hard time finding a substitute for this category. And I'm not talking about the multi-tool or the flashlight. I'm talking about the sheath. I really struggle to go anywhere but to this sheath. I spent a lot of time struggling and feeling uncomfortable sheaths, and it's hard to go back. Now, maybe had I not found the perfect thing, maybe I would have accepted these substitutes a little bit more, but I will tell you, the one place, if we're gonna pick one category where I would not like skimp on, it would probably be a good sheath if you're planning on actually carrying one. Not for everyone, just like the fixed blade is not for everyone. But if you're gonna carry it every day, it's gonna be on your hip, it should be comfortable, end of story, okay? So I'm just gonna say that. These were decent. I will say these are decent, especially this sheath, which if you actually put something in here that's wide enough to kind of keep it from folding in itself, is probably okay. The best one I tried by far, but still, I can't in good conscience recommend these. Save your money. That's all I gotta say. In fact, talking about multi-tools, we'll go into that category right away. This is an easy one. The Byberry, I think they're calling it the 19-in-1, is a amazing deal at around $25 using their coupons. It usually runs between $25 and $30. It comes with a bit kit with 3 bits and is basically a Leatherman Wave clone. And the pocket clip, of course, has gotten caught on the inside here. Now, you don't need the sheath if you don't want to, but this is actually a pretty decent sheath with a clip, and I have carried it and it doesn't bother me that much. So it's a decent solution. And for a lot of people, especially in the budget category, you might be taking this entire thing and putting it in a bag, or clipping it to the outside of a bag, or something along those lines, or leaving it in the car. Even if you buy a more expensive tool, it's going to still serve a great purpose as being a backup and also being available in different locations. So I really like this tool at the price of around $25. It has a 7CR17 blade, it has a diamond file, and it even has something I think that is better than the Leatherman Wave, and that is a full-sized 1/4-inch bit driver. Now this one does have a ball detent, and you can buy bits from Klein that will work perfectly in here. Or you can buy a 6mm by 1mm magnet, disc magnet, and just put it in the bottom, and you will be able to use it with pretty much every bit. So all I can say is a really good $25 solution to the multi-tool category. I don't really have anything to add. This is just a very good solution. Now, when it comes to prying tools, I don't think besides the one we talked about on the keychain, you should bother. I have right in front of me a Teale Designs, I think it's an MDP it's called. And what's great about this tool, and I love so much, is that it uses full 1/4-inch bits. It has an inline bit driver and one at 90. This is actually a great tool. What is happening? Oh, there's something stuck in there. Okay. And it can work at 90 degrees as well. Now, the problem with talking about these is that they sell out almost instantly every time he makes another batch. It is handmade, right? He does everything himself. And so it's hard to talk about it because they go away so fast. But I will leave a link to his Instagram page and his website nonetheless. You're gonna have to keep up with it in order to find one. unfortunately, that's all I can tell you. They're just really, really hard to find, but they are great hard use tools. Surprisingly awesome when it comes to actually using it as a screwdriver slash pry tool. Now let's talk about the flashlight category. Let me bring in some of the potential options because, man, there are an absolute, just a plethora of flashlights under that $30 price point. Now, when it comes to flashlights, my most commonly carried flashlight right now, weirdly enough, is the Arc Flex. I say that because this turned out to be one of the most useful things ever. But if I was to stay under that $30 price, turns out there's still a ton of options, like so many, in fact, that I couldn't find a large number of the ones I was looking for. I will be putting an entire list of what I think will work in various different categories, AA, AAA, and bigger, down below in the description. But these are just some of those lights. So we have in AAA, the Olight i3T2. Now, this actually does not have the reversible clip, but it comes with a reversible clip. I swapped this out for one that you can get from Raylight. So if you don't want a double-sided clip, you can actually get that. What's great about this light is they've improved it. It also will run on a 10440. It has up to 300 lumens of output. You can have it come in on high or low. It's simple. It works. Yeah, enough said. It's a good light for less than 20 bucks. You also have the ThruNite T1S, which is a Type-C rechargeable pocket flashlight. This thing is a powerhouse, so a good choice as well. We have talked about the Sofirn SP10 Pro, so fully programmable, high CRI output, up to 1,000 lumens coming out of what is basically a AA powered flashlight. And yes, it can use both a 14500, which is a 3.6 volt battery, and a standard AA. So that's a very, very good option. What if you like a tail switch? Well, you can get the same user interface in a tail switch setup in the Workhos TS10. So this thing has, I think, 12 or 1500 lumens of output. It's very, very tiny, and it works really well. And if you want to go bigger, there's a couple of options. So for whatever reason, I can't find my FC12, but I did find this one. This is the WK03. And what makes this light so unique is that it comes with a battery, is 18650 powered, I think 1800 lumens. Great user interface, and it's under $20 with a magnet and a decent clip, IPX8, and there's two variations. So Workhos and Sofirn. Sofirn actually makes the lights for them, so they have their own version of this. I think it's called the, I want to say the SP18, but they both can be under 20 bucks. So very cheap, very efficient, very just good value. So these are just some examples that are definitely in that budget category that are worth looking at. If you have a specific need though, let me know down below. The FC12 from Workhos is probably the best defensive light that I can recommend around that price point. You may not be able to find it under 30 on Amazon at all times, but you can definitely find it on their website, and it has a great user interface for that purpose. That's pretty much where I want to leave it with flashlights. There's just so many to talk about. This is thankfully where there's a lot of options under 30. I have entire videos dedicated to various different categories on flashlights. And if you still haven't found what you're looking for, let me know down below and I will try to help you. But these are some good options, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. Let's address a very, very popular category of EDC gear, and that's folding knives. And weirdly enough, this tends to be a bit of an afterthought for me personally. Once you have a multi-tool and then you combine that with a fixed blade, the folding knife for me either has to do a better job than the fixed blade, or it has to be incredibly special. So this is an example of one of those like can do everything knives. This is the Ritter Hogue Doug Ritter design, the MKS. I don't like this knife. I love this knife. This is one of my favorites in my collection. It is a 3.5-inch blade. It's Magna Cut blade steel. It has incredible ergonomics, and it's ready to go to work. Except, this is anything but a budget knife, okay? At around $160, that's quite pricey. Maybe it might be a grail knife to a lot of people. Which is why I worked really hard to put together lists of knives under that $30 price point. In fact, every knife in this case is under $30. And I like each and every one of them. I did an entire video on it. But one knife kind of remains supreme in this category, weirdly enough. And I actually, in my daily carry, I have a more expensive version of it. This is the Monikala, what is it called? The TAC Team, something like that? A TAC Team? I can't remember what it's called. I will put it down below. But this knife is in 14C28N blade steel. It has a compound grind, meaning it has a hollow grind here, and then it has a swedge here, which makes it better for piercing. It's a little bit thicker at the tip. The ergonomics are great. It has multiple ways to deploy it. So you have the thumb stud, you have the flipper tab, the detent's decent, and there is no play, there's no detent lash, there's no up and down or side to side. It's a great knife, and it has decent grip on top of everything else. It fits perfectly in line with the size and kind of overall aesthetic I'm going for when it comes to the 3.5-inch blade length. Believe it or not, this actually might have cutting geometry that I prefer than more over the flat grind. I actually have fallen in love with this compound design, and it's a winner. There are plenty of other sub $30 knives worth considering. I have an entire master list. As I find new knives, they get added to that list. But this is probably the one I would go with. I mean, without even like second guessing it, I would be more than content with carrying this knife for the rest of time if I needed to, because it does such a good job at almost anything I've thrown at it, right? It has very good cutting geometry, great ergonomics, and can do a whole bunch of different things. What's more to say? There are so many options out there. Some are terrible, I will tell you, so be careful. And some are actually quite good. So take a look around. I have that master list down below. Let me know. If you didn't pick this knife, which one would you pick? Now, it's without question that a watch is definitely part of your everyday carry, but this is kind of a category in and of itself. It kind of embodies not only functional aspects, but also some intangibles. You know, it really is also kind of man's jewelry. Now, my personal favorite right now has to be the Vaer 38mm Solar Diver. And I have two variations of this watch that I've been wearing regularly. But I will tell you, there are some very, very good budget options that are under 30 bucks worth talking about. And all of them are going to be made by the same company, and that is Casio. So we'll put that one aside for just a second. The two that I absolutely recommend you have to have in your collection is going to be this one right here. Now, they all have numbers, not names, so I'll be putting them up and they will be linked down below. But this is a really cool watch because it has a rotating bezel. It's not a unidirectional bezel, but it does work. It's a great day-date complication. It's a quartz movement. It's very light, very comfortable to wear, and comes in around $20. You just can't beat that. I'm telling you, this is one of the best watches in existence. There are tons of different colors. You will never be disappointed with this watch at this price. It's just going to keep going and going and going and going. Just a great watch. And of course, the calculator watch. I mean, you want to talk about iconic? You cannot go wrong with having one of these. Even if you have a collection of watches well into the 5-figure range, if you don't have a Casio calculator watch, what are you doing with your life? I have to say, you're missing out on some serious nostalgia bombs. This is going to create so many great conversations. It doesn't matter where you wear it, it's going to be an awesome watch. Now, it doesn't have, it's like, I think 30 meters of water resistance, so it's not super water resistant, but man, is that a cool watch. And the last one, probably my best watch under $20 is got to be the AE1200, I think. Now this, I was tempted not to show because I have spent over $200 getting a sapphire crystal steel case aftermarket add-on for it where I could actually wear it. And I do wear this watch. I love this watch. But the base model, even the band that it comes with is really, really nice. It locks in really well and it vents really well. You can't go wrong. Just make sure that you get the all black variation, not the one with the steel bracelet. Trust me, don't get those variations. The plastic, the resin one, the all black is the way to go. And it is one of the best watches out there under 20 bucks. It has a 5-alarm setup. It has a great backlight. It is just fantastic and it's so iconic and it looks so good. I do not feel like you're missing out when you wear a watch like this. It's just awesome. Arguably one of the best watches ever made. Now, we're not talking about from a historical standpoint, you know, something like the F91W is probably a little bit more historic, but when it comes to modern watches under 20 bucks or under 30 even, this kind of is in a complete league of its own, as is this one right here. So either one you go with, they're about the same price. Yeah, of course, the calculator watch, you can't go wrong. These are all fantastic budget options. Casio has an incredible reputation, and these watches do not disappoint, ever. Now, after watching this video, if you think $30 is still too much, or you don't think you're getting enough for that price by buying something that's new, I highly recommend checking out places like eBay, Facebook Marketplace. You'll be amazed at what people are willing to sell and at what prices. A lot of times you can get practically new items for fractions of the cost of what they were originally. So if you're willing to scavenge and have a little bit of fun doing it, it's definitely a good solution. I think that $30 is a pretty good approximation on what we call a budget item. But I'm curious to see if there is a better definition out there. If you think you have a better approximation of what a piece of budget gear is in this genre, let me know down in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for your time, and we'll talk again soon.